Hi, Warren and
Hi.
Janet. I want to thank you for letting me come over today and interview you. Warren, I'm going to be asking you some questions that have to do about your time in Fair Oaks and also your time in Rotary. And Janet, I'm going to ask you a few questions too, if that's okay with you. All right. So, Warren, I want to ask you, first of all, how many years have you been in Fair Oaks totally?
75.
75 years, okay. And in all those times, I know you've seen lots of changes in the community. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the changes that stick in your mind the most? And also, you were assistant postmaster in Fair Oaks, right?
Assistant postmaster.
Assistant postmaster. Okay,
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Well, we moved to Fair Oaks in 1945, at 12 years old from Sacramento. Had a little ranch up on the north corner of Fair Oaks and Sunset, 5 acres. My dad was in construction, so he wanted to get out by himself somewhere, and he stayed in construction about 4 years, and then went into a small business of sand and gravel here for probably 4 years, and then I joined him for 1 year, and it was during the 1955 or 56 recession, so there was no, money was pretty short on that kind of work. So I went back to some work that I'd done in McClellan years ago in the plating business, and then that kind of went to heck because the guy didn't like me. So I went away and came out to Fair Oaks, and that was about 56, because we were married in 57, and Janet became pregnant within a year and a half, and we were at church one day, and the postmaster lady was at church with us. We were doing new members, and I'd worked here at the post office at Christmas for just about 4 weeks. And that way, I went up to Lillian Webb and asked her if she had any jobs left, and she said, "Oh, I don't have anything more, I'm sorry." And she looked at it, kind of looked at me, and she said, "I wish I could do something for you, but we just don't have any openings." "Okay, thank you." And then we all around and finished the day, went home, got up the next morning, phone rang. Lynn Webb on the line says, "Warren, you come on down to go to work. I don't know what I'm gonna have you do, but I've got a job for you." So I went down in June of 57 and went to work as a temp. I stayed there as the temp and went on in to be a regular carrier, and then we moved over to another building, and I stayed out there, and I carried mail there, and then I went into supervision, and I became the supervisor of mails, and then he retired, and then when that one retired, Jerry Stauber, a member of ours in the club, he was a superintendent of mails and assistant postmaster. So he asked me then if I wanted to join Rotary, and I said, "Oh, sure." So I came in and I thought it was April, but it's March, and joined Rotary with him as my sponsor. And then I really enjoyed it very much. Some of the old guys, there's nobody left when I joined Rotary. Not anybody that was in the club is still there. Yes, I'm sorry about that. There is. Hinkleman and John Chavez and Howard Papworth are still there. They're ahead of me by a year or so in longevity. But I when Jerry retired, I became the superintendent of operations and as a postmaster. And I stayed in that for about 3.5 years, and then I retired. And I've been retired now for 32 years.
Oh my.
I have been retired longer than I worked, which is kind of a nice thing to be able to say.
Well, I hope Janet's keeping you busy. She must be.
So anyway, that's my career as far as employment almost.
Okay. And you're very involved in the community as well, and that's probably one of the things that keeps you very busy. What other organizations do you belong in Fair Oaks besides
Oh.
Rotary?
Right now, we belong to the Fair Oaks Foundation for Leisure and Art, which I'm past president of twice, and the Fair Oaks Historic Society, which I'm past president twice, the Fair Oaks Theater Festival, the Chamber of Commerce, and the Speak Up Honey.
I think that's about it.
That's the main one, but we still want all of them.
Well, no wonder everyone knows you in Fair Oaks. And you've also been honorary mayor
Yes.
and citizen of the year.
Yes.
And Janet, you've also been citizen of the year. And speaking of your lovely wife, Warren, you have a lot of ways of introducing Janet at the meetings. We always wait to hear how you're going to introduce her. Tell us how you two met.
Whatever comes into my mouth. I do a lot of ad-libbing. But she's such a sweet girl, I'd like to introduce her in a good way. You know, it's kind of funny, and I don't know who you are or what's your name, and different things like that. But I'm very happy to have been married to her for 63 years.
How did we meet?
How did you meet?
Oh my goodness. We met on a blind date in November of 1956. We went to the Zawin High School play. We came home that night, and I left the next morning for Alabama for 60 days, 30 days, 40 days, I don't know. And I stayed back there that long time, and I wrote a card home to her, and just to let her know I was still alive. But I put the wrong word on. I put Love Warren on the bottom of it. That went on. I came home in late January, and we had a number of dates. And we met at what used to be the service station on the corner of Fair Oaks Boulevard and Bridge Street, I guess you'd call it.
Yeah.
Where the not where the car wash is, but on the corner where the
Used car.
sales place is there, right on the corner. And I worked there too a little bit, and then I thought she was a very rich girl. Her family was very wealthy because she had 4 cars in the family, and she'd come down in a nice little Oldsmobile 88, and then she'd come down in a 55 Chevrolet, then she came down in a little Volkswagen, and then a piece de resistance was she came down in a 1955 Cadillac. Oh my God, I see the rest. So we dated still some more, and then we were on a date somewhere, and we ended up at Folsom Lake long before there was anything going on there, though I don't think it was finished yet.
Yeah, the dam was in.
Okay, it was. And I proposed to her that night, and we came home, and we said, we gotta tell your dad. And I asked him for your hand. She said, yeah. So we looked all day Saturday for him, but couldn't find him. He was somewhere. So I went and got a haircut, and we came back to the house, and he was already in bed. So we saw him in bed, and he said, oh, I told him I would like to marry your daughter. And he said, oh, really? It's kind of funny, I heard that in a barber shop today.
So it was a pretty small town then.
Very small town. So I said, what? And she said, what? And he said, oh yeah, I went in for a haircut, and the barber said that you were in, and you announced that you were engaged. So that's the way we became engaged, and then we told him we're not going to get married if she gets out of school. And she was going into junior. Was that right?
Yeah.
And that was 2 years. That's a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So I came home, and she did, and then a few days later I asked my mother, what should I do? What should we do? We'd like to get married first. And she said, well, you're having a party on the April something for your announce your engagement. Why don't you there's strength in number. So just tell everybody that night when you're getting married. We did. And our sister-in-law was she was a very dear person. I loved her dearly, but she was very opinionated. She didn't think Janet was old enough to get married. Of course she wasn't. She was only 18. And I was 23.
Oh, okay,
And
okay.
so that's how we got it. And we were married in July.
Same age batch, Jim and I. I was 19, he was 24.
Oh, for pity's sake.
Yeah, that must be the secret. Is there a secret to your longevity?
I say yes a lot.
Good advice. All right, well, let's move on to your early days in Rotary. Let's see, you were president in 1987. What was your first impression of the club when you joined?
Well, I was very excited.
Were you?
I was. I thought I had come to be there. So, yeah, it was just very exciting, and I thought that was the nicest organization I could join. I knew nothing about it.
Okay.
I knew all the people in the club, but they all knew me. But so I joined in 1980.
So you've seen a lot of changes in the club in the last 40
Oh
years.
yeah.
What do you think is the biggest change you've seen in the club?
The big change was moving upstairs because we had so many more new members, of which to this day, now it's okay. I mean, it's okay anyway. But I still think we're getting too big. I don't hardly anybody in the club anymore. I know their names, but I don't know who they are or what they do. I wish that they would put down the roster would put down what they do for a living, because it would give you a little insight into them.
Well, that is a very good point. In fact, Gus Ballas, who's our vocational chair this year, has just done that. And he's come out with an Excel spreadsheet, which is very long right now. As soon as we can get it out to everybody, and we're going to be doing more vocational talk. So that was one of the questions that I was going to ask you is what do you think that we could do to make your experience better? So yeah, I agree with you. Now, you mentioned that the biggest change was moving from downstairs to upstairs, but you didn't mention when women were allowed to join. That wasn't the biggest change for you.
No, I was just coming in as president when they joined, and I was very, very much against it.
Were you?
Very eminently against it. And our first lady member was Kathy Smallhouse. And I'd known Kathy for a couple of 3 years to the bank. Sorry. And so I figured, well, gosh, Kathy's coming out and maybe I'd better not change my mind, but at least be congenial. So we got along, I mean, we always got along. And then the president was Don Williams at that time. And he was also not very happy. Sacramento Bee and one of the TV stations, Channel 3, I think, came out and interviewed him, and he told him what he thought. I wish we could see that interview. I don't know where it is. But so it just kind of grew on it.
Okay.
I told him if we get women, I'm going to drop out. That was my main thing.
But I said he couldn't do it.
Oh, good for you.
Because I was just getting interested in Interwheel and I enjoyed that.
Well, good point, Janet. So I'm going to ask you a little bit about Interwheel because, Interwheel was formed when women were not allowed in Rotary, obviously, as kind of an auxiliary to Rotary. So tell me a little bit about Interwheel, your experience, and why do you think that our Interwheel Club seems to be so strong and still going where others have kind of gone by the wayside since women have joined Rotary?
The Interwheel, when it started back in England, it actually was with a group of wives that were in there helping when the Rotarians had their fundraisers and things like that. So they started to become friends and decided that they wanted to have their own organization. It now is much, much bigger in the rest of the world. It's my understanding that in India, every Rotarian that joins, because I don't believe in India that the Rotarians they don't have any female Rotarians. And so they're an automatic interwheeler. And but we are, it's well over 100,000. We are the largest women's organization in the world. In the United States, however, it's very small. We only probably have 1,000 members in the United States, and I think that's probably because the Rotary has been very active in having women join, which is a good thing. Ours is, the commitment's not as heavy in an Inner-Wheel Club. It's friendship. We also have in the United States a foundation that provides myoelectric limbs for children that aren't able to afford them, and we take care of those children up until their 18th birthday. That is now endowed at $2 million, so we're really, really proud of that and able to help a lot of children. It's kind of, I think our Inner Wheel has been more successful because we are close to our Rotary Club, and our Rotary Club does help us. They help us with having a spaghetti night every year, and then we have a Bunko fundraiser. Wondering how all of those things are going to happen in the future, but we'll have to wait and see. We have some of our members, Alice Rowe in particular, and Vicki Walter, is she an associate member? So she is also an Inner Wheel member, and a lot of the other women still, they support us even if they aren't members. So we're good.
Good. And I do like that relationship. I noticed that when I first came to the Fair Oaks Rotary Club and considered just joining Inner Wheel, and then got more involved with Rotary with my husband. But I like that relationship, and it is strong, and I hope our club will always have that strong relationship. All right, so I know you said you've seen a lot of transitions, and one of them was from moving downstairs to upstairs. That was when my husband Jim was the president, so he got to take care of that transition, and it was very emotional, wasn't it, Warren?
It wasn't very easy either.
It wasn't easy, but you kind of outgrown the room, but at the same time, we didn't have a choice. The Parks was renovating it. Just like now, we don't have a choice, right? We had to move out of our home. I know what that's like when you've been with an organization for a long time and you have to move that. It's like your home. So we've been forced to move out of that even before COVID hit. Then COVID hit. Now we're forced to do something else, and that's our Zoom meetings. And it's not popular with everyone, we understand that, but it is an avenue for us to keep our clubs together, our membership together, so that we can still be productive. But Warren, how do you feel about Zoom meetings?
About what? Zoom.
How do you feel about Zoom meetings?
Zoom meetings.
June?
Zoom.
Oh, well, how they not participated, I don't know too much about it. I've been on a couple of Zooms with Janet for the Fair Oaks, what is that one that Pete's the president of.
FOCAP.
FOCAP.
Uh-huh.
And we get along pretty well, that's pretty good. But we don't do too much anyway. Our meetings for our hour, that's not the only one I've been on, so maybe one of these days I'll join. But I still think if you want to join Rotary and there are changes made in the way it was when you joined, you accept those new changes and you don't stay away from meetings or something because of something that board of directors had changed. I don't like that at all. And if you join Rotary, I think you should be compelled to at least make 1 or 2 meetings a month at the club. If you want to make up on some of these things like making up online, I think is ridiculous. And I think the Passport Club is ridiculous. But that's my thinking, but I still like Rotary. I still enjoy Rotary.
Well, thank you for your honesty, Warren. And yes, Zoom meetings aren't for everyone. We get that. But we do hope you'll join us this Monday or next Monday. And they're only 1 hour long. And because we have PowerPoint and videos and things like that, you can't see everybody. So you don't have to worry about how you look,
Oh.
okay? So you don't need to put any makeup on that day.
Oh, good.
Okay, yes. And you don't have to say anything, but, I hope you'll get on and just observe. I
Can I
know.
introduce my wife?
No, you can't introduce your wife. I don't know, maybe I'll make you a speaker. Okay,
That's one thing I wanted to say
yes,
about Little Genius. That is abominable the way they're doing it. It should be allowed at least 7 or 8 minutes or 5 minutes to get up there and find people. People aren't getting fined for the little incidents as they do. They get caught doing something or they get the name in the paper. That still should be going on, but it doesn't. All they have to do now is happy fines. And there's not that many happy fines, or if there are, it takes too long.
well, I agree, happy finds can go on for a while, and
Yeah.
doing
I
them
don't mind.
doing them virtually, we have a lot fewer
Yeah,
people that
virtually
are
you
happy.
really can't.
Yeah, well, we have
That
fewer
I can
people that are happy.
Yeah.
And then figuring out how we were gonna take care of getting their donations when they are. Now we have a donation button on the website so they can put their money in. So, yeah, it's a learning curve, I'll have to say, Warren, and it changes day by day as we learn to do different things. So thanks for your honesty on that. Now, I'm going to ask you another question. How do you see our club as being receptive to new members, being inclusive to all ethnic and religious beliefs? Do you think we're inclusive that way?
Well, I'm sure that, I don't know much about the religion. We've only had a couple of black people in the club in all my years. Very fine bunch. One was in the Air Force and came up from Mather Field. He was a very fine, they're all fine, but the ones we had were not exceptional either. They were just good people. And I don't mind that, and I hope it's not racist, but it'd be nice maybe if we had a few more, like Maisie. But I don't know how the club feels about it.
Well, I think that most of our members are pretty inclusive, but we are a representative of our community. So
Yeah.
looking around our community, we are basically a retirement community. That's, and that's a lot of our members. We do want to involve our senior members more, and as well as younger members in everything we do. And I know one of your concerns, Warren, is that we're getting too big. But if we don't get big and bring in younger members, then we can't do a lot of the projects that we do. Because of health and disabilities of some of our senior members, it makes it impossible for them to do those type of projects. So how do you think we can meet our seniors members' needs right now?
I would believe that the senior members that we have should either bring in more seniors or be the members we have. I don't see bringing a lot of senior members in. A lot of them don't, and especially now. But I think you have to want to belong. And if it's mentioned to you and you're asked to join and you have a dozen excuses, you don't need to be there.
Well, that's a good
The
point.
seniors have quite a few excuses, which really are valid, of driving and all that kind of stuff.
Right. So anything you would add that would be beneficial to our members who are watching this video? Anything you want to say to them?
Everybody's gonna watch this?
Oh, yes, they are. They are, Warren.
Oh dear. I don't know, I just be a good member, I guess. Be an honest member,
Active, an active member.
active member. Thank you, dear.
I haven't said anything.
What's your name?
Good old what's her name sitting next to
Yeah,
you.
she always gets in on things.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, that's what I feel.
Yeah, I agree. Being active, you get more of a feeling of family, and you get more of the club the more active you are in the club, and more friendships and
I know that Lloyd Hickleman is one that, he's a senior member. He's 91 years old now, I believe.
oh, I know.
And I think that if he would come more often, which he won't be back, I don't think.
Well, he has a hard time hearing.
Oh, but he has these,
Yeah.
and he won't wear them.
He doesn't use them.
I just got new ones, and I hate them.
Oh, yeah. Well,
But
you
I'm
know,
getting used to them.
Necessities, right? Necessities, because you know, you are married to a lovely woman who
He's
she
a good-
wants you to be able to hear her. Right?
Right.
No, that's not right.
Well, anything you'd like to say to prospective members to encourage them to join Rotary?
First of all, you gotta wanna be a participant. And I believe with all the new members we have gotten that I know, there's a few that we don't see any at all, which kind of bothers me. And our badge trunk is getting very, very crowded. And I would be remiss not saying that if we had 2/3 or half of that club that had badges that come to the meeting, we'd be in trouble. We wouldn't have a place for them to sit. Wouldn't have enough food for them unless they called in and said they were coming. I don't know, I like new members. We've got some really nice new members. A lot of them now come and visit with me when I'm at the club, which is very nice. 2 or 3 of the gals, and Pete always comes and talks to me, and Ralph Carhart. And I don't get around the club in there too much, but because I usually sit myself down and I stay there. And losing Joe Horizon was a blow because Joe and I always visited at the club, and I don't know.
All right, Warren. Well, you'll be glad to hear that we are going to start our in-home meetings, in-house meetings starting next week. Our new home will be at the VFW, as you know. We were going to do more outdoor meetings, but because of the horrible air quality, we are moving indoors. We have new cooks. I think it's going to be very exciting.
New cooks.
Well, yeah, we have.
VFW.
We use the cooks at the VFW,
Oh, okay.
yes, and I've heard they're great, and I'm very excited. So, you know, we'll be able to see some new faces, some old faces coming back.
Yeah.
Being respective of our COVID distances and all that until we can get rid of this nasty disease and move forward. So, Warren and Janet, I want to thank you for taking the time this morning for visiting with us and sharing your thoughts and about your lives and Rotary. And so, thank you again.
I would like to say one thing about Fair Oaks, that the people who live in Fair Oaks should shop in Fair Oaks.
Agree.
I mean, we have 5 or 6 good restaurants now in the area, and some of the stores are really not the greatest because a lot of them are antique stores. Went down and saw Walter's new store, and it's very nice.
Yes, it is.
So that's what I'll finish with.
Yes, shop Fair Oaks, shop local. Thank you very much, Warren and Janet.